Welcome back to another Roblox Studio tutorial. In today's video, I'll show you how you can make an enemy spawner. In this case, we're going to be using zombies. We'll start with the basics, and then we'll build it up as we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and dive in and see how we can do this in Roblox Studio. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is add a folder into the workspace where we're going to store all the parts. So to do that, we can just come over to Workspace, click on the plus sign, and then we're going to add a folder. Next, I'm going to right click on the folder, and then press Rename, and we're going to rename it to Spawns. Next, we're going to add a couple parts that we're going to use as spawn points for the zombies. So I'm going to come up here and click on the part. Once you have the part in the game, you can resize it and change it to whatever color you want to. And after you make the part look the way you want to, we're going to go ahead and drag the part from the workspace into the spawns folder. After you put it inside the folder, we're going to make copies of it to spread around the map. To do that, you can select the part, and then press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and then you can move the part to a new location. So I'm just going to do that a couple times so we have a couple different spawn points. Okay, and there we go. So I have a couple different spawn points. I'm going to keep them close together just so they're easy to keep track of, but you're welcome to spread these around the map however you want to. Okay, so after we have our spawn points set up, we're going to insert a zombie into the game. And I'm going to be using this one right here, the drooling zombie that's made by Roblox. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert it into the game. And then once you add it to the game, we're going to drag the zombie model into the replicated storage. Okay, and after you have the zombie in the replicated storage, we're going to be adding a script. So just go and click on the spawns folder, click on the plus sign, and then click on script. The first thing we're going to do is make a variable for the folder. So we'll say local spawns is going to be equal to script.parent. Next, we're going to be making a while loop to continually spawn in zombies after a certain period of time. So to do that, we're going to start by saying while true, and then do. What we're going to do inside this while loop is start with our wait time. So we're going to say wait, and then we're going to put parentheses. And then whatever number you put inside the parentheses will be the number of seconds that it waits for. And rather than putting the number there, what I'm going to do is define a variable up here. So we'll say local. And then for the variable name, let's put spawn time. And let's set that equal to 10. So now inside the parentheses for the wait time, I'm going to put spawn time. And this just makes it a little bit easier to adjust later on. Rather than looking through the script for the wait time, you can adjust the variable up here, and then that wait time will automatically get changed. Okay, so after we wait for whatever value we chose, we're going to loop through the items in the spawn folder and spawn a zombie on top of each part here. To do that, we're going to say for, and then we're going to say underscore, comma. And then for the other variable in the for loop, I'm going to do a shorthand for spawn. So I'm going to put SPWN. And then we're going to say in pairs. Inside the parentheses, we're going to put spawns, which is our variable for the spawns folder. And then we're going to say colon, get children. So this will get all the items inside the folder. Outside the parentheses, we're going to say do, and then press enter. And before we continue, we see we have a red line right here under this word, and that lets us know that there's an error. So instead of pair, it should be pairs. So I'll just add an S there. And now we're good to continue. So what we're going to be doing inside this for loop is we want to spawn a zombie on top of each item inside this folder. Except, of course, we can't spawn a zombie on top of the script. So what we're going to have to check for is to make sure whichever item we're on is actually a part and not the script. To do that is pretty easy. We're just going to say if spawn, SPWN, and then we're going to say colon is A. Inside the parentheses will be the type of object we're checking for. So here I'm going to say base part. Okay, so if it's a base part, then what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of the zombie that's in replicated storage. To do that, we can say local, and then I'm going to say zombie copy. And that's going to be equal to game.replicated storage. And then here I'm going to put square brackets, and then zombie. So here, if you're using a different model than me, you just want to replace whatever's inside of here with the name of your model. Okay, so outside the square bracket, we're going to put colon and then clone. So now we have a copy of the zombie. So all we need to do is spawn it into the game and set its position equal to the part's position. To do that, we're going to start by saying zombie copy dot parent is going to be equal to game dot workspace. Okay, and next we need to set the position of the zombie. To do that, I'm going to say zombie copy dot humanoid root part. And this is going to be another part that you need to update depending on which model you're using. So in my case, the zombie has a humanoid root part, but if you're using a different model, you might see torso. So just depending on which one you have, either the humanoid root part or the torso, just go ahead and update that part here. Okay, so after humanoid root part, we're going to say dot cframe. And that's going to be equal to cframe dot new. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to start with the position of the spawn part. So I'm going to say spawn dot position. And then I'm going to add a small vector to this so it spawns a little bit above the part. So I'm going to say plus and then vector 3. And I'm going to close out the toolbox so we have a little bit more room. So vector 3 dot new. And then I'll put parentheses. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to put 0 for the X part, 3 for the Y part so it spawns a little bit up, and then 0 for the Z part. Okay, so that should be good for now. So we have a loop. It's going to wait for whatever value we set for it, and then it's going to loop through all the different parts inside of our folder here and spawn a zombie on top of each part. Alright, so let's go and run the game and make sure this part is working. Okay, so we're going to wait our 10 seconds and then see if the zombies spawn on top of the parts. So we see we only have one zombie spawn in, so let's go ahead and open up the output and see what happened. Okay, it says position is not a valid member of part. Okay, so we can see here I misspelled the word position. It should have an extra I right here. Okay, so now let's go and rerun it and see if that fixes it. Okay, so we'll wait our 10 seconds and see if it works this time. And there we go. So we have all the zombies that are spawning on top of the parts. And then as soon as I get within the zombies' range, they come after me. After 10 seconds, a new wave should pop up, just like it did. Okay, so everything looks good so far. So let's go ahead and add a few more things to this. So one thing you can do with this is add a smoke effect onto the parts. So to do that, you can just click on the part, click on the plus sign, and then start typing smoke. Okay, and there we go. So we have a smoke effect coming from the part. You can do different things like change the color and also the size of it. So I'm going to change this to the color green. But you can change it to whatever color you want to. I'm also going to increase the size a little bit. So I'm going to change it from 1 to 10. Okay, and that looks pretty good. And what you can do is you can either do that for each part, or you can copy the smoke effect, which you can do by pressing Ctrl C. And then if you select all the other parts, so I'm going to click on the first one, hold the Control key while you click on the other ones. Once you have them all selected, you can right-click, and then press Paste into Selected, and that'll copy the smoke effect into the other parts. So now let's go and see what this looks like when we run the game. Okay, so it takes a second for the smoke to build up. But now you can see they spawn out of the smoke, which is kind of a cool effect. Okay, so let's do something else. Let's add a point light into these parts here. So to do that, it's the same as the smoke. We're going to click on the plus sign, and then start typing point light. Okay, and just like the smoke, it has some properties that you can adjust. So I'm going to increase the brightness. And let's see what part we're working with here. So it looks like this one here. Okay, so at a brightness of 10, I can still barely see it, so let's try 50. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm also going to increase the range a little bit. So let's change it from 8 to 16. That's probably a little bit too much. Let's try 12. Okay, looks good to me. So just like before, I'm going to copy the point light and then paste it into the other parts. All right, and there we go. It looks good. So what I'm going to be doing with these point lights is whenever a zombie spawns onto the part, I'm going to make it flash for a second. So I don't want it to start like this. I want it to start with the point light off. To change all the properties at once, you can start by selecting the first point light, holding the Control key, and then selecting the others. And now that we have them all selected, we can change them all at once by just changing the brightness here to 0. So now they're all off, and then what I'm going to do on the script is whenever a zombie spawns on top of it, I'm going to light it up for a second. To do that, I'm going to add a line inside the if statement. So I'm going to say spawn dot point light. And then the property that I want to adjust is the brightness. So I'm going to say dot brightness. And then I want to set that equal to 50. And then we're going to wait for a small period. So let's say wait and then 0.25. So a quarter of a second. And then after that wait time, I want to turn the light back off. So I'm going to copy this line and then set the brightness to 0. All right, so let's go and see what that looks like. All right, so let's go and take a look. We'll wait 10 seconds and see how it looks. Okay, and we can see as the zombies spawn in, there's a brief flash of light from the point light. Let's go and take all these red parts and make them transparent so you can't see them. Just like we did for the point light, we can change the properties all at once by selecting them all. So I'm just going to right click and drag to select all the parts. And then down here for transparency, I'm going to change that to 1. Okay, so now all the parts are invisible. Okay, so I think that looks better. So you don't see the parts that they're spawning from. All right, so let's go ahead and add a few more things just for fun. So what I'm going to do is add another zombie model into the game. And what I'm going to do for this model is I'm going to delete all the scripts for it. I just want to use it as a model. So I'm just going to go in and delete everything except for the parts. And I'm going to leave all these parts here. So the last thing I'm going to delete is just the folder down here. Okay, so let's make this a little bit larger now. Okay, that looks good. And I'm going to put this right inside the middle. So what I'm going to do with this model is I'm going to put a billboard GUI inside of it so I can display what wave we're on. So what I'm going to do is inside the model, I'm going to click on the head, and then I'm going to click on the plus sign and insert a billboard GUI. And then inside the billboard GUI, I'm going to add a text label. For the text label, I want to bring it a little bit above the zombie's head. To do that, I'm going to select the billboard GUI. And then for this section here, I'm going to change the second number to 1. Okay, that's still a little bit too low. Let's try 2. Okay, that's closer, but I want to make it a little bit higher, so let's try 2.5. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I want to make a couple changes to the text label. So I'm going to click on the text label. The first change that I'm going to make is the background transparency. So let's change that to 1. And then I'm going to scroll down to the text section. And then for the font, I'm going to choose this one right here, Creepster. For text scaled, I'm going to select the box. For the text color, I'm going to choose white. And then for the text stroke color, I'm going to choose red. And then down here for text stroke transparency, I'm going to change that to 0. And then for the final change, for the text section, I'm going to change this to wave. And after that, we're going to head back to the script. And then what we're going to do on the script is we're going to create a new variable. So I'm going to say local wave. And this is going to be equal to 1. Inside the while loop, I'm going to start by updating the text on the text label. So that text label is inside the zombie model and inside their head. So to get there, I'm going to say game dot workspace dot and then the zombie model. Inside the zombie model, we're going to go to the head. Inside the head, we're going to reference the billboard GUI. And then inside that, we have the text label. And we're going to set the text property. And then we're going to say that's equal to the word wave. And then we're going to put a colon. We're going to put a space. And then outside the quotation marks, we're going to put 2 dots. And then we're going to join that with whatever number is stored for wave. So we can just put wave right here. And then each time we spawn a new wave of zombies, we're going to increase the wave level. So what we'll do is we'll actually start this at 0. And then after the wait time, we're going to increase it. So we can do that by just saying wave. And then plus equals 1. So the way this is going to work, after our spawn time, it's going to increase the wave by 1. And then it's going to update it on that text label. All right, let's go and see how this looks. Okay, so right now we're at wave 0. And after the first wave of zombies got spawned in, we're now at wave 1. Okay, the second wave of zombies got spawned in, so we're at wave 2. And you can see it continues that, so after each spawn period, it's going to increase the wave level by 1. Okay, so next let's go ahead and add a sound to this so that whenever the zombies spawn, it'll play a short sound. To do that, we can look in the toolbox here. Under the drop-down menu, make sure you select audio. And then what we're going to do to make sure we only get results that are pretty short is we're going to use the filter icon right over here. And then for the sound length here, we're going to choose between 0 and 5 seconds. So I'm going to put 00 for the minutes and then 05 for the seconds. So this will only get us results that are between 0 and 5 seconds. And then up here, you can search for whatever you want to. I'm going to try spawn and see what comes up. After looking at some of these, this is the one that I decided on. To add it into the game, we're going to start by clicking on the spawns folder and then clicking on the sound, and that should insert it inside the folder. If it ended up outside the folder somehow, you can just click and drag it inside. Let's go ahead and rename it to something different. So I'm going to choose wave sound. So I'm going to do wave and then underscore sound. And then to play the sound, I'm going to add a line right below the wait time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by referencing the folder. So that's spawns. Inside the folder, I'm going to be looking for the sound, which is wave sound. And then I'm going to say colon and play. If you want to change the volume of the sound, you can do that by clicking on the sound and then looking for the volume section. Right now it's set at 0.5. If you want to increase that to the max, you would put 1. And let's go and run the game now and see if our sound plays. Okay, there we go. We're going to wait our 10 seconds and see if we have that sound. Okay, and there we go. So after the 10 seconds, we have our wave sound. And finally, before we end with this video, let's take a look at how we can increase the difficulty for each wave by increasing the health of the zombies. To do that, I'm going to start by creating a variable up top. I'm going to say local health, and I'm going to set that equal to 100. Down here where I'm spawning the zombies, I'm going to add another line. So here I'm going to say zombie copy dot humanoid dot health, and I'm going to set that equal to the health variable. And then after each wave, I want to increase the value for health. To do that, I can just add a line right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say health and then plus equals, and this will be the value that it increases by each wave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 100 to the health after each wave. So the way this is going to work, on wave 1, the zombies are going to have 100 health. And then on wave 2, they're going to have 200. On wave 3, they'll have 300. And that'll keep increasing after each wave. So the farther along you go, they're going to get harder and harder to kill. Alright, so let's go ahead and test this out. Before I do that though, I'm going to give myself a weapon. Alright, so I got my weapon, so let's go ahead and try it out and see how far I can make it. Okay, and as you can see, I'm only on wave 6, but they're becoming much harder to kill. So increasing their health by 100 each wave might be a little bit too much, depending on the weapons you're using, but I'll go ahead and leave that part up to you. As you can see, as the waves go on and the zombies become more difficult to kill, the number of zombies in the game really start to pile up. So let me show you how you can modify the script so that that doesn't happen. So let's go ahead and open up the script. And what we're going to be doing is whenever the zombies spawn into the game, rather than just putting them in the workspace, we're going to put them inside the folder so that we can track their numbers. So I'm just going to insert a folder, and then I'm going to rename this to zombies. And then over here, just like I did for the spawn folder, I'm going to create a variable for the zombies folder. So I'm going to say local, and then zombies. And that's going to be equal to game.workspace.zombies. Next, we're going to create a variable to set the limit on the number of zombies. So we'll say local, and then max underscore zombies. And let's go ahead and set that equal to 10. And then what we'll do right below the wait time is we'll say if, and then we're going to say zombies. So that's our variable for the folder. We're going to say colon, get children. And we want to check to see how many zombies are inside that folder. So to get the size of the folder, we're going to use the hashtag or the number sign. So basically what we're saying is if the number of zombies in the folder is less than, and this is going to be our max zombie count, then what we're going to do is we'll spawn in a new wave. So now I just need to move this code inside of the if statement. So I'm just going to highlight it. I'm going to use Control X to cut and copy it. And then I'm just going to paste it inside of here. So one additional change I'll have to make is rather than just putting the zombies inside the workspace, I'm actually going to put them inside that folder. So I'm going to replace game.workspace with the zombies folder. Okay, so now what's going to happen is inside the while loop, it's going to wait for that 10 seconds. it's going to check to see if the number of zombies in the zombies folder is less than 10. If that's the case, like let's say there's 7 zombies in the game, then it's okay to spawn a new wave. If there's more than 10 zombies, like let's say 15, then it's going to wait for that number to go below 10 before spawning in that next wave. So let's go ahead and run it and see how this looks now. Okay, so the first wave got spawned in, and you can see in the workspace here inside the zombies folder, I have the zombies. The second wave got spawned in, but now I definitely have more than 10 zombies in the game. So after the 10 seconds, it won't spawn in a new wave until I kill some of the zombies. Okay, so you can see it's been longer than 10 seconds, and I still don't have another wave spawned in. So let me try to get the number of zombies under 10. Okay, and as soon as I got the number of zombies below 10, then it was okay to spawn in the next wave. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.